Hello again, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a little bit of a different video. I didn't expect this to take this path, and I don't think I'm going to continue with this. Um, I don't think that my channel will be necessarily these topics, but these are on my mind, and some people have asked me questions, and so um, this video is going to be about um, my religiosity and my faith, and some of the things that are part of that. You know, of course, as I mentioned, I'm a devout practicing Catholic, and so there's certain things, certain beliefs that we as Catholics have um, that are I find very interesting, and they're a way of kind of explaining the world around us. And that's a lot of what our faith is. Just trying to understand ourselves. And this is going back to the beginning of time, back when the pagans or the earliest human beings wanted to explain something, and they would come up with, say, a god of rain, god of the earth, the god of trees, and so on, to explain things, right? Richard Dawkins makes an argument in one of his books about um, something about having to do with like empty spaces on a wall, and you're filling it in with science as you're going along. Um, and as time goes by, there's less reason to believe in God because science explains a lot of things. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but that's his argument. um, but here's a topic that has been on my mind somewhat recently, and so I would think to bring it up. And this first came to my mind um, after seeing a movie, The Exorcist. There is a scene. Those of you that know it's about the story about a young girl who's possessed by a demon, and the mother takes a psychiatrist and they can't help her, and they suggest that she goes to see a priest, and that psychologically, when the priest attempts an exorcism, psychologically the girl will react, and it might um, cure her of this belief that she's possessed. And the woman goes to see a priest. The movie kind of gets some things wrong, but she goes to see a priest, um, and she's making small talk with him. And at one point, she says, "How do you go about getting an exorcism?" And it shocks the priest. And he says, "Well, you need to go back in a time machine and go back to the Middle Ages." And she says something like, "I don't understand." He says, "Well, we don't. That doesn't happen anymore." He says, "Now that we know about mental health and mental illnesses, paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and the gamut. Now we know more." Anyway, um, this is not something that I um, necessarily believe, but it's something that I'm kind of entertaining, and it's this. Um, in my Catholic faith, there is such a thing as we do acknowledge a spiritual warfare. That just as there are forces for good, that there are forces for evil, and those forces for evil are, we believe that they exist. And one of the things that I think people don't um, think about is if those forces are real, they don't just like hang out in old abandoned houses, that they would be all over everywhere, that there's no reason why there should be a shortage of these forces of evil. And we would refer to them as demons, um, the paranormal, yeah, as demons. And what that priest said, I thought, what if maybe today some mental illness, in fact, maybe all mental illness, at least a good number of it, um, could be attributed to evil forces. I remember a long time ago speaking to a Catholic priest friend of mine, and he said that I asked him, oh, he was up in San Francisco, and I said, do you ever get calls of for possessions, exorcisms, those kinds of things? He said, oh yeah, You get, and so that kind of goes against what this priest in the movie said, that it never happens anymore. But this priest says, "Oh yeah, it happens," and he says, I'll send him over to the bishop and let him handle it." And there's a whole process that things that happen. But I asked them, is there a common thread in these cases? He said, yes, there is. All of them gave consent. Now, the consent doesn't mean, come here and possess me. Somehow they opened a door to allow this in. And I know that there's, this is, this sounds a lot like superstition, which maybe it is. I mean, I'm just kind of like putting it out there and thinking about it. But there's this fear of Ouija boards. And a Ouija board is, it's just this piece of wood. It's got letters on it and numbers, and then people put their hands on it. I've never seen one work. In fact, I haven't seen one in ages. I've never been in a place when somebody's playing with one. But people seem to be really, really scared of them. They're really creeped out by them. But what if you, in your behavior, do something that allows, and maybe I should use like another less controversial word, maybe just this energy, this negative or bad energy. What if our behavior allows some of that energy to flourish inside of us, to affect us? For instance, let's say that I have anger issues, and I don't try to address it. I'm just violently angry. Anything sets me off. Do those kinds of things sometimes attract more negative energy to make me even worse? Um, Paranoid schizophrenics. We've known about this for a long, long time, and sometimes in history, people that have had some weird behavior, they're diagnosed, way hundreds of years later. Oh, this person, their behavior, psychiatrist, psychologist would say, um, by what they described, that person probably had, schizophrenia. You but um, could that be possible? Could it be that a lot of things that are going on? Another one's chronic depression. I guess that qualifies. I've seen that in the DSM. That qualifies as a mental health thing. But could it be that in opening ourselves up and not addressing the depression in a certain way, we've allowed something very bad to kind of like, stay with us, and exacerbate those feelings, which just makes them worse. Um, there was something that was kind of interesting, and this is kind of like a side note. Currently there's a big, at least there was a big move. No, it still is a big movement on um, pronouns and people that are, changing their pronouns, and people are not born that way, obviously, because we did not have this issue 30 years ago. It just didn't happen. And people would say, these activists will say, well, because it was hidden, people just said, no, stop it. It didn't happen. You didn't see it on the streets. You didn't see it. In my lifetime, I've known about 20 transgender people. And this was not a common thing. It's much, much more common now. People are actually like putting them on their, now they're even doing like the they, the we, and the Z, and all this other stuff, which is kind of interesting because in one of the videos that I watched with this atheist, he talked about language and how words um, don't have. He put it kind of this way, that words don't always have like a solid definition, but they have a usage, and that just frustrates me. That's just like a way of excusing, you know, um, bad behavior, right? Changing definitions just at will. Words over a long period of time, due to usage, may end up meaning something different, but nobody from one day to the next changes definitions. and if they do, it's dishonest. And I've mentioned this before in some of my other videos. The definition of racism. We used to know that what that was. There wasn't an issue. Now they bring in that someone has to be power, and certain ethnicities or races cannot be racist. That they can be prejudiced, or yeah, they can be prejudiced, but they can't be. It's just nonsense. Words over a period of time, which are very powerful, can change. It can evolve, and the usage gradually changes. And sometimes the word has the opposite meaning. But you can't just change the definition of a word. But this is kind of like I said, the side note. I went on another tangent with all the we's and they's and people that choose their definitions of their to describe themselves, choose their pronouns. And the interesting one was referring to yourself in the plural. And in history, and I don't know this for certain, but that I can think of, the only time that I remember that someone referred to themselves in the plural, there are only two incidents, two times. One of them is the royal we, and someone, a king, an emperor, a nobleman, will refer to themselves in the we when talking about, because they saw themselves as being one with the land, being one with, the country, that they were the physical embodiment of that, and so they would refer themselves with the we. The only other time, and I found this on somebody said this, and I thought this was fascinating, was the only time that somebody's referred to themselves in the plural was this phrase, and I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to give where it comes from, but a lot of you will know. The phrase goes like this, the dialogue goes like this. What is your name? My name is Legion, for we are many. And I thought that was pretty interesting. That's when it's been used, that somebody refers to themselves in the plural. And that kind of got me thinking about, like I said, the spiritual warfare, and that maybe there are forces out there that that are actively working against us, but they can't just work against us on their own. We have to be open to letting them work within us, and it's usually to our detriment. I mean, of course, always to our detriment. They don't make your life better. And so what do? And I think a lot of times, if we can, we work to make ourselves better. We work ourselves to make ourselves, our behavior, choose better behaviors, choose better things to do, choose better habits. I mean, I've been noticing that there's a lot of, on my Instagram page, there's a lot of self-help, motivational stuff. And a lot of them talk about how your behavior and your habits mold your future. And they can change your life, right? Your habits eventually make your decisions to take some certain habits change the way that you are. They make you a different person. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. I know this is way off track of where I was before, but that was on my mind. If you can like the video, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.